Camcorder Cameron here. Last night I watched Beetlejuice in the movie theater, and so I've come to you today to give my thoughts. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved the original Beetlejuice. It's fun for the whole family. It's a great ghost story. It's a satire, dark comedy. I love everything about it. I love the feeling it captures of Lydia, the weird girl who feels alienated from the rest of the world, so she's not so shocked by ghosts and the afterlife. I love the whole idea of what if the afterlife is like waiting in line at the DMV forever. There's a lot of fun playfulness going on in the original, so I was super excited to watch the new one. And my spoiler-free review basically is that it is a fun movie. I do think it's worth a watch. Would I be jumping to watch it in the theater if I wasn't filming a review? No, I mean, I would wait till it comes on streaming, honestly. It is a great movie, but I don't see a big need to experience it in the movie theater. But it is good. There's multiple, and I mean multiple, laugh out loud moments. And I went by myself. I had a whole row to myself, and I was just laughing out loud, which I'm not the type of person who is always like a laugh out louder. You know, I laugh to myself in my head a lot, but no, it did have me cackling at several points. It does capture like the same sort of like sleazy humor that Beetlejuice has in the original. He is the same guy, up to the same shenanigans. I love his like slapstick humor with his wacky power. All of that is really fun. But in the way that like a Marvel movie is gonna be good, you know, this is like the Disney-fied version of Beetlejuice, even though it's a Warner Brothers picture, but it's a paint-by-the-numbers formulaic sequel. It doesn't add too much to the universe, and it's formulaic for a reason. It's gonna make you feel good. It's gonna make you leave the movie theater feeling like, wow, that was a blast. That was a fun ride. So it was all of those things. Do I think it captures like the original sorrow? Even though the original movie is fun, there's a lot of sorrow there with, you know, the dead not realizing that they're dead and coming to terms with the fact that they've died. And Dilia, she's sort of like suicidal because she's a teenager struggling with her family life and moving. And she falls in love with these ghosts where she feels like she's finally found a family and she wants to join them in death. You know, there's a lot of heaviness under the dazzling green surface of Beetlejuice. But Beetlejuice, it tries harder to be a comedy, but it does have some sad elements. For example, the whole plot is like centered around Mr. Deets' funeral. He dies, and so that's what brings them all back to the original Beetlejuice house for his funeral, and there is some exploration about death, obviously, but I don't think it captures the same feeling. But anyways, that's my spoiler-free review. Now I need to get more specific. I love that Lydia's back and she feels like the same Lydia. The movie starts with Lydia's like supernatural talk show that she now has. She's using her paranormal powers as a strong career woman. She's got a very successful TV show. It's kind of like a ghost hunters style show. And it's just so fun to get to see her again. And Winona Ryder does a wonderful job. Like, this character clearly is like a part of herself. You know, it feels very familiar. Not just because she looks the exact same, you know, they've kept the crazy hair, but also just because you can tell Winona Ryder like loves this character. And I'm sure, like, because she was so young in the original movie, I'm sure, you know, the set and working with Tim Burton, it all feels very familial for her, but she shines. And I love how the movie isn't just focused on her daughter, because Jenna Ortega, we all know what a star she is. She is so youthful, and a lot of sequels will often focus on the younger daughters or descendants of the original characters. But I really like that Lydia still is like the central character in this story. Her daughter also has like her own plot lines and stuff, but I still think that Lydia is our main character. I love that about it. My favorite character probably was Dilia Deets. I loved her in the original, and she's so good in this. She's had some success with her art, or she's using her stepdaughter's money for her art. I don't know, but she's got a whole gallery. She's doing experimental things. Like, she is so herself. And whenever she found out that her husband died, she is exploring grief in a really fun way, where she's like, let's artistically explore grief. Like, she shrouds the whole Beetlejuice house in this big black veil, and she wants to perform all these mourning ceremonies. And I just think that's so her, and she's so funny, and every time she was on screen, I was just giggling to myself because she's so fun. Astrid wasn't my favorite character, and that's not Jenna Ortega's fault. Like, the character's just sort of bland. They didn't really give her her own personality. Like, her biggest personality is just that she wants to be the opposite of her mom, because she's mad at her mom and she doesn't speak to her for this dumbest reason. She's mad at her mom because their dad died and her mom can't see her father's ghost, and so she just thinks that her mom's like this big phony and she's not supernaturally gifted, which, I don't know, it's just annoying. She's annoying for that reason. She's annoying for not believing her mom. I couldn't really understand what her whole thing is, because she's still dressed sort of like alternatively. She's like a watered down Wednesday Addams. She really is. But Wednesday has a lot of personality, and Astrid just doesn't. Like, her whole personality is just being her mother's daughter, right? And that's not Jenna Ortega's fault. So she wasn't my favorite character. I feel like this movie could even just be without her. Like, she doesn't need to be in it. It's crazy though, but I love Jenna Ortega. I do. I think she's beautiful, and I love seeing her in this. She definitely has that classic Tim Burton stare. Dolores, she is our new dead character that we're introduced to on the other side. This was interesting. There were some interesting choices made here. I was excited to have a new supernatural character. Dolores is Beetlejuice's ex-wife. And whenever we get their whole romantic backstory, it becomes this black and white, dramatic, telenovela style flashback, which I really enjoyed because it had that whole stylistic change, and it was comedic and over dramatized. All that's really fun. One of my favorite scenes is whenever Dolores comes to life. She was hacked up into bits by Beetlejuice, and so she's in all these different parts, and when her boxes are spilled over, they all come together, and she staples herself together bit by bit. That whole sequence is really visually satisfying. It's interesting. It's sexy with her, in her black dress. Like, she's a very sexy actress. Monica Bellucci's a very sexy woman, so she's beautiful in this role. She's this evil, soul-sucking, literally, she kills dead people, villainess. She's supposed to be our new bad guy. She's eviler than Beetlejuice because she goes around to all the already dead people in the afterlife, and she turns them into, they look like foreskin after circumcision. They look so funny and shriveled up, creepy things she does to these dead people. And she just wants to find Beetlejuice, I guess, so she wants to kill him because she's mad. I don't know. Even though I like the fact that they introduced a new evil character, you want that, I don't think that they knew what to do with her. And this is overall my bigger issue with Beetlejuice is it has all these different elements going on, and it doesn't really tie it all together. Because in the beginning it does sort of play out like a monster story where she's going around getting on these victims, hunting down Beetlejuice, and Beetlejuice is trying to evade her. And then we got the ghost FBI trying to find her. Okay. But then it gets into more things where there's the funeral, and then there's the fact that Lydia's random man that I don't care about, he doesn't need to be in this, Rory or whatever, he wants to marry her, so she's like, okay, I'll get married to you. I could have done without the marriage plot. And then her angsty daughter Astrid goes off and falls in love, which is all that. The whole romance part was so predictable and rushed through. Yeah, Astrid, she has this meet cute with this boy in town where she crashes into his treehouse. He takes her up to his room. He's got all these cool old records and he's clearly flirting with her, and they both have read Crime and Punishment, and they both have like this dark twisted part of them, and he has got like the classic Tim Burton insert, right, where every single one of Tim Burton's movies, you're always gonna find a character that resembles him or him when he was a kid. It's always like some pasty, scrawny white guy with dark black hair. And so he's totally like the Tim Burton character or whatever. So I'm like, here we go. He's going to be the love interest. And of course, they have this cute little Halloween night together. But it's not a surprise when he turns out dead. And they do make it, this is fun, they make it obvious by the Easter egg where he has the Book of the Dead. And if you've seen the original Beetlejuice, you know if you have the Book of the Dead, it's because you're dead. He says it's from a yard sale, but us as a viewer, we're like, oh, he's a ghost. She doesn't know that, but the audience knows that. And then he walks by his parents in the house, and he's like, oh, they never pay attention to anything. But it is very obvious that the parents are dead too, because they specifically don't show them like much at all. So the whole twist with him being evil and being a crazy kid that murdered his parents, I saw that coming. I didn't like the plot of him trying to take Astrid's life and become alive again. It didn't really go anywhere. Like that's a vehicle to get Astrid, I guess, into the underworld to see that her mom wasn't making all of this up. But it's as simple as just getting her picture taken and him getting a postage stamped. It could have been cool to see more different departments in the underworld and get to see places other than just the waiting room, like where does the soul train go, like that sort of thing. But yeah, and then it doesn't even go anywhere because Beetlejuice just stops it from happening. Of course, the whole boy twist, it was too much. I didn't really care about it, and it didn't go anywhere anyways. I did like the whole father element. That was interesting, and they were trying to like touch on some deeper feelings there with her grieving her father's death and finally getting to see him in the afterlife. Like, yeah, that's all cute. I don't know her dad, but it's all cute. And the parts where I think it was formulaic is they're playing the Deo song multiple times. Like, there's the wedding again. Beetlejuice tries to marry Lydia again. Same red dress. But of course, the wedding doesn't happen. Like, I don't know. I guess it's all about the journey. And I didn't even talk about Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe is probably the best standout character. He always is. I love him. I'm a huge Willem Dafoe fan. He used to be an actor in his life, but in death, he kind of is like the head of the ghost FBI. His name is Wolf Jackson. That's his character's name, and he is just splendid every time he's on screen. Even though he's kind of another pointless character, he's trying to track down Dolores and Beetlejuice and just keep everybody in their proper realms and all that. He's fun. He's just so fun because he admires himself so much, and yeah, he's just a fun character. I love that, but the plot was just messy, and like I completely forgot about Dolores once we get involved with Astrid and the romance and her dad and then the wedding stuff and then the Lydia stuff. It's like I completely forgot about Dolores until she shows up again in the third act. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot she was here. You know, they're not stringing it together so perfectly the way you want a plot to. And I thought it was really dumb that Dilia died in the end. It was just the dumbest thing. Like, she got scammed on the internet and she bought these snakes that she thought were fangless, and then they just bite her and she dies. It doesn't feel like there's a point to her death, and you don't feel sad about it. I don't know. It was dumb. That was just kind of thrown in there at the end. Plus, her character is so fun. I didn't want her to be dead. I was like, what? She's great. Don't kill her off. Show her more. And she didn't really do anything in the afterlife except be reunited with her husband, who, the original guy, I read that he's not in this movie, Mr. Deeds, I guess because he's a sex offender or something like that, and he stopped acting. So it's good that he's not in this movie. I mean, you see him, he is a character, but it's not the actor. He got bitten by a shark. And this is the only claymation, and this is, I'm getting all over the place, but the only claymation in the film is whenever they show how he died, which is through like a shark attack. And it's a super quick little claymation thing that happens there. But I was really disappointed to see that the sandworm was animated and it wasn't claymation. At that point, I don't even understand why you're including the sandworm. Like, just don't have him there if you're not going to use that mixed media claymation style, because part of the whole look of Beetlejuice is the physical, practical effects and the puppets and the wacky makeup. Like, it looks fakey and funny. And it was a weird animation that was like in the style of claymation. So it was clearly meant to look like they used claymation, but they didn't. So it just made the movie feel cheap. But it's not like they didn't use claymation altogether, because they did use it in that one scene. I know I'm giving all the critiques because I don't know how to critique a movie without talking about the things I didn't enjoy. And when you're such a fan of like the original, you're never going to be happy with the sequel. But it was fun. I would watch it again. I mean, it's cute. Like, I would watch it with kids. It's a great movie for kids, even though there's like some F-bombs or two, and there's like a flashback where Beetlejuice and Dolores are rolling around on the bed, but you don't see anything inappropriate. The same way that the original Beetlejuice has like inappropriate humor, but I still enjoyed that movie as a kid. You know, it's like that. It doesn't capture that feeling though of like the loneliness of ghosts. Like, ghosts are so lonely, and Tim Burton was a lonely boy, so he's usually really good at depicting loneliness in film, and it brings a lot of people, not just his typical style that he's built, but it's also like that theme of feeling lonely and like you don't fit in with everybody else because you're different. I think this movie's missing out on the loneliness theme. The afterlife either seems like it's a big party or just an annoyance where you're waiting in line. Everybody has a job. I don't know. I think it would be fun if they, spent more time exploring the afterlife, building that world. Anyways, I don't know what to think about it. What did you guys think? I know it's been really widely well received. Overall, it's got like a 7.6 on IMDb, which is really good, especially for like a sequel this long after the fact. I think it helps that you've got the original cast members, the original director. There is that commitment to practical effects and crazy makeup. Not as much as the original, though. Not as much as the original. But my personal rating, I mean, I would take it down to like a 6 out of 10, maybe even like a 5.5 out of 10. I guess just because it didn't fulfill like my emotional wants or like my desire for a deeper thoughtfulness to things. A lot of times like dark humor has to be really thoughtful. This movie has a lot of dark humor, but it's like dark humorous dad jokes, you know, that there's not much depth to them. It's a shallow grave, if you will. But it's fun. Michael Keaton's great, as always. Like, he can just easily slip right into this character. It's fun. Maybe I would give it a higher score if I had never seen the first one. I don't know. I guess I can only just compare it to the original Beetlejuice, I guess, which is just so perfect. I could watch that movie every year and I don't get sick of it. It's so fun and also just so special and sweet. And yeah, thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members. I love you guys. Until next time, Camcorder Camerin signing out.